Welcome everybody. Welcome to White City Place Connect, where we are providing occupiers of White City Place a live platform to learn and engage while supporting well-being from the comfort and safety of your homes. My name is Dora, for those of you that don't know me, welcome. We're going to begin our practice today seated. So you may wish to sit on your shins, which is how I'm going to be in Thunderbolt pose. You could sit in a cross-legged position if that's more comfortable for you. If you need a little bit of elevation, whatever you may have handy, either a block, a brick, so that could be Virasana, cushion or a blanket. But finding a seat where you can maintain an upright spine without having to use too much muscular effort here. So if you feel that your tailbone is tucking under, you may need a little bit of elevation so that you can find that forward tilt, maintaining the natural arch in your lower back. I'm going to come back onto my shins here. So once you've found your comfortable seat, whatever that is for you, turn your palms face down on your thighs. Lightly close your eyes. And if closing your eyes is not comfortable for you, just take a soft gaze on the floor in front of you. Know that the body is breathing. Notice your relationship, or the relationship, between your body and gravity. Is there any tension within the body that you can disorganize so as to receive gravity more fully? Are there any parts of your body that you could receive a little bit more alertness, upliftedness? The opposite of gravity is levity. So what goes down comes up. So we yield to the earth. Yielding is different to collapsing. To yield is an active, conscious release downwards. To effortlessly receive the uplift. Come back to your breath. And consciously breathing now. As we inhale, draw the breath into the nostrils. Follow it down the back of the throat, all the way down to the inner seam of your spine, to the pit of the belly. And as you exhale, the breath rises up and out to the inner seam of the spine, out to the nostrils. As you inhale and draw the breath in, it travels downwards, but the body rises upwards in opposition. And as you exhale and the breath rises up and out, there's a sense of groundedness, of yielding. Follow your breath in this way. Inhaling, breath draws in and descends, outer layers of the body rise. As you exhale, breath rises up and out, outer layers of your body descend. All the while noticing little pockets of tension that may occur. And gently let this go. Imagining that there's a golf ball in the pit of your throat, lift your chin up and over, dropping it down towards the sternum. Spine remains alert but calm. And start to draw a smile across your chest with your chin as you half roll the head. Exhaling as it passes across, inhaling as you look over one shoulder. Exhaling and inhaling. Continuing. Bring your chin back to the sternum. Raising your gaze softly, open your eyes to a soft gaze, or drishti. Release the arms down by your sides, flexing your hands, so flexing the heels of the hands. Lift your head up off your spine and drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Press down and away with the heel of your right hand and slightly lifting it up towards the skirting board. Press your left heel of the hand down and slightly up towards the skirting board. You might feel quite a strong stretch of the forearms, maybe a tingling in the fingers as you stretch through the fascia around the nerves. If you'd like to add to this, the right hand comes up and over onto the top ear without pulling or forcing, just allowing gravity and the weight of the arm. And maybe take a little swing with your left arm here. You could also just adjust the angle of the chin slightly. So you find that sweet spot of stretch where you really need it. Be still with the right hand. Turn your gaze to look down towards the top of your right thigh. Fingers tuck underneath the bulbous part of your skull. Elbow point drops down. So starting to stretch through the lateral back side of your neck. You may even feel it down the muscle alongside the spine. Again, no forcing or bouncing or pulling. And then pressing the skull back into the hand to raise the head, so you're using your neck muscles, and release the arm down. Okay, lift your head off the spine as if it were full of helium and drop the left ear onto the top of your left shoulder. Press down and away to the palm of your left hand as you flex the hand. Maybe lift it up a little bit. Same with the right palm. If you want to add a little bit more weight, your left hand comes all the way up and over onto the top ear. You could adjust the angle of the chin a little bit to find that sweet spot of stretch where you need it. Maybe take a little swing with your right arm here. All the while there's an awareness of the breath flowing in and flowing out. Not particularly trying to control the breath in any way, just aware, observant, attentive. Turn your gaze to the top of your left thigh, tucking the fingertips underneath the bulbous part of your skull. Let your head drop. And press the skull into your hand to raise the head. Taking both hands behind the skull now, interlacing the hands, draw the elbows wide apart, lift the chin over that imaginary golf ball once again, lowering the chin towards the chest. Keep the spine tall so the back of the heart lifts inwards and upwards. And let the elbow points draw towards one another. Again, without forcing, without bouncing, no pulling. Press the skull into the hands, use the neck muscles to raise the head and bring the fingertips onto the tops of your shoulders. Take an inhale and circle the elbows and the shoulders up by the ears. Exhale, around and down. 2 more times. Inhaling. Not only mobilizing the shoulder joints, but circulating prana through the breath. throughout the lung tissue. Inhaling, exhaling, reversing this, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, taking the elbows out to the side. So we're raising a little bit of energy now. We're going to start to twist around the axis of the spine, inhaling to one side, exhaling to the other. Keep the chin in line with the breastbone. So raising a little bit of energy now from the base to the crown. You may find that your breath becomes softly audible. Keep going. Just a little bit longer. Inhaling to one side, exhaling to the other. And start to slow this down until you come back to the center. Release the hands onto the thighs. Just notice the energy you have created. So coming out of whatever sitting position you're in, coming onto the hands and the knees here. And taking the wrist underneath the shoulders, the hips above the knees. Bring a little bit more tone to the front of the body and start to just rock yourself forwards and backwards. About halfway, so shoulders coming forward at the wrists. Sit bones towards the heels, but not sitting all the way down. And in this position, the thigh bones sit quite nicely, neutrally in the sockets. Great, coming forward. This time you're going to tuck your toes and just come and sit back onto the heels for a moment. Let a little stretch to the arches of your feet. Take your right fingertips and slide them up the vertebra of the neck, right into that little hollow between the two bulbous parts of the back of your skull. It's a little soft point now as the brainstem enters the skull. Don't press too hard, it can be a little bit tender. There's quite a lot of tension that we hold in those muscles around the base of your skull. So just up into that little soft part as it enters the brain. Take your left fingertips onto your lower spine, sliding them down towards the coccyx, and just feel the relationship between these 2 points. Have a sense of how these 2 points feel in relation to one another. And then we'll release that. Slide the hands and the belly forward, so hands are sliding on the earth. Belly falls over the thighs, and you can either keep your forehead off the floor or release it to the earth. And keeping the hands where they are, come up onto your hands and your knees once again. Bring the shoulders forward of the wrists. Sit bones towards the heels. This time we're going to hold it here and hover the knees slightly off the floor. And can you find again those 2 points, brainstem and coccyx, feeling the relationship between the two? The shins are hovering off the floor and parallel to the floor, so the knees are just slightly lifted. I know this is hard work on the quads. Breathe. And then maybe start to lengthen and broaden the backs of the knees, coming towards a down dog, but still with a little bend in the knees, if not a lot. And again, finding those 2 points, the brainstem and the coccyx. And the dialogue in between these 2 points, through the spine. Lovely. Lower your knees to the floor. Come and sit back down into a modified child's pose once again. Sit bones to heels. Either keeping the forehead off the floor so the spine is aligned, or releasing the forehead down if you need to give your neck a little bit of a respite. In each pause, keep returning to your breath. Throughout your practice, when your mind wanders, bring it back to the anchor of your breath to keep you in the present moment. Let's come back up onto the hands and the knees. Float forward with the chest. Reach back with the sit bones. Float the knees up once again. Push them out forward with your hands. Find that relationship between the brainstem and the coccyx. Start to broaden and lengthen in the backs of your knees as you unfold into your down dog. You may be straightening the legs a little bit more now. But if you feel it's pulling the tailbone under, just keep the knees a little bit bent. And let's walk the hands back towards the feet here. So pushing the mat forward, coming to hand over your legs with your feet hip distance apart. Navel lifts gently towards the spine to support the lower back. Let the crown of the head release down. Bring the weight equally between the 4 points of contact on your feet, big toe joint, little toe joint, inner and outer edges of the heels. And just maybe nod and shake your head from side to side, allowing the head to hang off the spine. You very rarely get an opportunity to let the head hang, carrying this very heavy head on our shoulders. And then looking forward along your mat, start to walk your hands back into a downward facing dog. Lifting the hips up off the lower back, up off the tops of your thighs. Tuck your thigh bones into the sockets. Press the tops of your thighs back. Have that sensation of where you felt your brainstem with your fingers and close to your coccyx. Stretching between those 2 points, aligning between those 2 points. Keeping the hands where they are, lower the knees to the floor, keep the toes tucked. Stretch your right leg out behind you, flexing your foot, just to hip level. And from there, if you can, you want to use your upper body quite strongly. Push away from the earth, left toes stay tucked. Lift up into a three-legged dog. So the right leg is up behind you, foot is flexed. Exhale, shoulders over wrists, knee to nose as you come forward. Inhale, flex and press the heel away, three-legged dog. Exhale, come forward. Inhale, expand. One more time. Exhaling. Inhaling. Look forward, step the foot close to the right thumb, help it through with your right hand if you need to, and lower your back knee down onto the floor. Turn your right hip, knee and toes out about 10 degrees, and the right hand will come onto the inner thigh, fingers pointing inwards. Lift away from the earth, start to turn your pubis, navel and heart towards the back shoulder. Little twist. Coming back, turn your right toes forward, fingertips to the floor, lengthen your heart forward as you inhale. As you exhale, lift the back knee, begin to straighten the front leg just as much as you feel you can, doesn't have to be a lot. Bend the front knee, lower the back knee, inhale. Exhale, little hamstring stretch. Inhale back into your low lunge, one more time. Exhale. Inhaling. Exhaling. From here, rebend your right knee, but keep that left thigh suspended as if it was in a sling. Sweep your right arm back behind you, circle the arm up into a twist towards your right knee. If you feel a little bit too long, you can pad the ball of your back foot forward for stability. And then press down so strongly with the legs, you could almost lift, or you could lift your left fingertips off the floor. Place the left fingertips back down. Sweep your right forearm onto your right thigh. Back heel comes in and down. Left arm sweeps down by the side of your body. raising the arm into your Parshakanasana. You can use your right elbow to keep the knee pressing towards the little toe. Suck your right thigh bone back into the socket and feel that hammock of the pelvic floor scooping under towards the back leg. Push down into your right heel to come all the way up. Warrior two. And again, as you suck that right thigh bone back, feel the scoop of the pelvic floor, the hammock of the pelvic floor. Flex your hands as if you were pushing the walls away from you. Look to the center of the room and release your arms down. Lift your skull off your neck and drop your left ear to your left shoulder. Keep a nice deep bend into the right knee, pressing away with the right heel of your hand. As you lift the head back to neutral, extend the arms once again, extend the fingers, straighten up your front knee, swing the hips back, and let your right hand drift into Trikonasana. Maybe just below the knee, could be above the knee. Try not to be on the knee joint itself. Expanding out in all directions, pressing both feet down into the mat. So rooting down to receive the uplift as an active yield as you soften the feet. Look to the center of the room. Drop right ear onto right shoulder. So you're letting the head hang. Notice how that changes your stability, perhaps. Different perspective. And then this top arm, this left arm, comes all the way over, comes onto the underneath ear to help you come back up. Turn the toes forward. If you're a bit too long, wiggle them in. Open the arms out to the sides. Take your hands onto your hips. Suck up through the hip bones. And then soften the knees as you come forward, sliding the hands down the outer edges of your legs, perhaps to your ankles or onto your feet. And let the head go here. Let the crown of the head fall to the floor. And then bending one knee and the other, just coming into a little side lunge. Inhaling and exhaling, both heels stay down. And coming back to the center, take the hands onto the hip bones. Pull the hips off the waist as you come all the way back up to standing. And as you draw the hips down, feel the sides of the waist increasing in length. Actively yielding, rooting through the legs to receive the uplift through the spine. Let's turn our feet around towards the right. Open the arms, coming back into a warrior two. We're going to keep the right hand off the floor here. As you circle the left arm up and over, swivel up the back heel. Left fingertips come to the floor. Right arm circles all the way back. Maybe turning the shoulder and bringing the arm over by the cheek as you reach forward. Take the hands to the floor and step back into a downward facing dog. So we'll take a few down dog press ups here. We're going to hold the shape of our down dog, hold this inverted V shape. The elbows come out to the sides as if the hairline was to come to the floor. So bend the elbows out as you exhale. Inhale, push away, lift the hips up and back. Maybe 4 more times. Exhale. Inhale. So rather than coming forward into plank, as best you can, you maintain the shape of your down dog. Exhaling as if the hairline was to come to the floor. Inhale. 1 or 2 more times. Lovely. Coming forward into plank now, shoulders over wrists. And then back into your downward facing dog. Wonderful. Lower your knees to the floor. Keep your hands where they are. Keep the toes tucked. Float your left leg up behind you, flexing the foot. Using your hands and your shoulders, could you float the right knee off the floor? Press your left heel back into your three-legged dog. Exhale, bring the knee to the nose. Inhale, flex the foot and press it back. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, press it back. Exhale, step the foot close to the left thumb. Lower your back knee down onto the floor. Turn your left hip, knee and toes out 10 degrees. Left hand onto the inside of the thigh. Come onto the tips of your right fingers. Start to rotate, navel, heart gaze towards that back shoulder. As you breathe. Take it back as you turn your left toes in. Draw the hips forward. Broaden across the collarbones. Inhale. Exhale, lift the back knee. Little hamstring stretch. Inhale, lower the back knee into your lunge. Exhale, lift that knee, hamstring stretch. One more time. Lower your knee. Lengthen forward. Lift. There you go, lovely. Rebend your front knee, but keep that back thigh suspended. Sweeping your left arm down and up into your twist. If you feel a little bit too long, not so stable, pad the ball of your back foot in a little bit. And can you press down so strongly? Receive the uplift as your right fingertips float off the floor. Sweep the left forearm onto the top of the thigh. Back heel comes down. Right arm sweeps out and up in your Parsvakonasana. Lifting out to that bottom shoulder. And we'll turn around. Push down to the foot and rise up into your warrior two. Flex the heels of the hands as if you're pushing the walls away from you. Lower your arms, turn your gaze towards the center. Lift up your skull and drop your left ear onto your left shoulder. Right ear to right shoulder. Press down through your left palm, keep the left knee bending. So your head is dropping over towards the straight leg. Bring the head back to neutral. Float the arms up, straighten your front knee, swing the hips back and hinge into Trikonasana. You don't need to go so low. Rooting down through both legs to expand out in all directions as you breathe. And again, turning your head to look to the center of the room and dropping your left ear to left shoulder. So letting the head hang. And bringing your head into alignment once again, aligning the brain stem with the coccyx. There's 2 points that we found earlier on. Right hand comes all the way up and over underneath the ear to help you come all the way up. Turning the toes forward. Feet are parallel. Take the hands down, sucking up through the hips, and then sliding the hands down the outer edges of the legs to come forward. Taking the fingertips onto the floor here, maybe you're hopping your feet to the back edge of your mat. Possibly wiggling your feet a little bit wider. Not so wide that you feel you're going to lose your legs underneath you, so keep that stability. Let the head go once again. You may be bringing the forearms to the floor, crown of the head to the floor, cupping the back of the skull with your hands. Don't worry if the head doesn't come to the floor. head is resting lightly. Enjoy the sensation of the 4 points of contact on the earth. And slowly coming back up onto the hands or fingertips. Wiggle the feet a little bit closer until you feel stable enough to come up. Soften the knees, hands onto the hips. Come up with your core rather than your jaw. So without tension in your jaw, without leading with the jaw. Turn your feet around towards the left. Open your arms, drop down into a warrior two. You're going to keep the left hand off the floor as you circle your right arm up and over. The left arm comes back, right fingertips to the floor. Left arm comes up vertically or all the way over by the cheek. And as you spin the heart, keep your right pelvic bone lifted up. There's a little dance here between the opening of the chest and the hips in opposition. Take the hands to the floor, both hands to the floor. Step back into your downward facing dog. And rather than our press ups here, we're going to take what's called a rocket dog, squeezing the elbows in. So you're trying to parallel the forearms and bending the elbows as much as you can, as if they were coming to the floor, but they're just skimming. It's really quite strong around the shoulder blades. Pull the elbows in, parallel the forearms, keep the shape of your down dog, elbows just hovering off the floor. And then straighten the arms, pushing away here. Walking your feet forward towards the backs of your wrists. Feet are parallel. And coming up from your core, rather than your jaw, sweep the arms out and up. Take the fingertips behind the back of your skull. I'll turn sideways again. Lifting your skull off your neck, scoop the armpits forward, slide the heart up the sternum. It's a little essence of a back bend here. To come back, connect the lower ribs and the pelvic bones. Shift the weight onto the right leg. Float your left knee up. Doesn't have to be high. Reach your arms towards the ceiling, upper arms by the ears. Dive back, taking the toes to the floor. Fingertips either side of your right foot. Back knee stays off this time. Extend the heart as you inhale. As you exhale, maybe begin to straighten the leg. You could keep the toes down. You could lift the front toes, maybe walk the fingertips back a little bit if you need a little bit more uplift to the heart. This might be enough. Or you can take the left hand to the outside of the foot, walk your hands around towards the right a little bit. Feel where your hips are in space behind you. And walking the hands back either side if you took them over. Re-bend your right knee, keep the left thigh suspended. Circle your right arm back. Take it all the way up vertically. And then all the way forward, taking the right hand onto the foot or ankle. Back heel down, right elbow slips inside the knee, left arm sweeps up. So a little bit lower in your Parshakanasana. If this is too much, come back up onto the thigh. Maybe the shoulder turns, the upper arm comes over by the ear, root through the outer edge of your foot. And then take the fingertips to the floor as you turn your right toes in, back into your wide-legged forward fold. Lifting the heart and reaching the fingertips forward, making little cupcake hands. Drop your ears in line with your upper arms once again, so you're stretching outwards. And feel the relationship between the brainstem and the coccyx. Notice where the weight is. Is it too far forward on the balls of your feet? Is it too far back? And as you stretch out with the arms, also draw back, as if your fingertips were roots, drawing energy through the bones of your arms and back to the tips of your shoulders. Walking your hands back, Towards you, spin your heels in a little bit, bend your knees, roll your sit bones forward, come into Vatayasana or horse stance. Again, align the spine. Feel that connection between the brainstem and the coccyx. Rising up, let's spin the feet towards the right. Drop down into a warrior two. And keep the right hand off the floor. Circle the left arm up and over, right arm comes back. Left hand comes flat to the floor, right arm rises vertically. Two choices, three choices actually. You can stay here. Second choice, bring the outer edge of the back foot to the floor. Bring your right foot back about halfway, half Vashisthasana. Or even step the ankle on top. Take the hand to the floor when you're ready. Swivel back around into a downward facing dog. And coming forward into a plank. Peer over the top edge of your mat as if it were a cliff edge. And you're just curious about what's there. Take the shoulders forward, bend the elbows, come all the way down in one piece. You pull the hands back, baby cobra. Slide the elbows forward into Sphinx. Imagine you were trying to drag your body through your arms here. Make a little cupcake with your left hand and take it in line with your right elbow. Lift and rotate, looking over your back shoulder. And keep your left pelvic bone rotating down. Inner big toes reaching back. Changing so the left forearm comes to the floor, the right fingertips come by the elbow. Lift and rotate, looking over your right shoulder. Right pelvic bone stays rotated down. Lovely. Coming back here. Slide the thumbs underneath the shoulders. Push yourself back up onto hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Float yourself up and back into a downward facing dog. Walking your feet forward towards the backs of your wrists. Hanging in your forward fold, softening your knees. And then coming up with your core rather than your jaw. Float the arms out and up. Fingertips underneath the base of your skull. Scoop your armpits forward. Elbows curl in a little bit. Lift the skull off the neck so the back of the neck is long. Heart slides up the sternum. Come back, connecting lower ribs and pelvic bones. Shift the weight onto the left leg. Float your right knee up as you inhale. Exhale, dive back, taking the fingertips to the floor. Back knee stays off the earth. Maybe lift your hips up and back, hamstring stretch, toes can stay down. You could lift the toes off the floor. You could stay here or walk the fingertips outside of your left foot. Slightly stretching them forward, so out to the side and forward. Feel when your hips are in space behind you. They're hanging over to one side or the other. It's quite difficult to feel where they are. We're not so aware of the back of ourselves. Take the fingertips back, walk yourself back onto that foot. Circle your left arm back, take it all the way up. Continue with the arm so the left hand comes onto the foot or ankle, elbows slightly inside the knee, back heel down, right arm reaches up. Maybe you turn and come over by the cheek. And again here, aligning the brainstem with the coccyx. And floating right fingertips to the floor, then left fingertips turn the toes in. We're going to turn the fingers around now so they point towards your heels. And reach your arms through your legs. Still perhaps with little cupcake hands. Stretching through, catching the earth. Navel to spine, maybe tucking the chin in and looking up towards the ceiling beyond your tailbone. Walking your hands back to the front. Spin your heels in. Bend your knees. Curl your sit bones underneath you. Come up into Vatayasana or horse stance. Brainstem and coccyx. Challenging pose. Notice any resistance in your mind to being here, any impatience, any frustration. Rise up and turn your feet towards the left. Drop down into a warrior two. The left hand stays off the floor as you circle the right arm up and over. Right hand comes to the earth, left arm rises. First stage. Second stage, outer edge of the back foot comes to the floor. Left foot steps back about halfway. Lean the shoulder blades back. Brainstem and coccyx. Or maybe even step the top foot onto the bottom foot, full Vashisthasana. Root down to receive the uplift. Take your hands to the floor, step back into a downward facing dog. Coming forward into a plank, high plank. Shift the weight so you're peering over the top edge of your mat. You shift the weight slightly towards the toes. Bend the elbows, come down in one piece. Pull the hands back, lengthen the heart, slide the forearms into stings. So just like that little rocket dog that we did in down dog, forearms are parallel, press down into the palms, lift your elbows just slightly off the earth, so they're just skimming, and squeeze the elbows in towards one another. Notice the muscles around the shoulder blades activated, particularly the serratus muscles that run just around here. You need these muscles for your arm balances. You may even feel the tricep muscles working. So squeezing the elbows in, you need to keep those arms active to engage these muscles. And then release down. Well done. Take the thumbs underneath the shoulders, push back up onto your hands and knees. Bring the big toes to touch. Come into a child's pose for a moment of pause. Maybe lift the fingers, flex the hands. Take a little wiggle of your hips over your heels. And releasing the hands to the floor, curl your way up through the spine to come and sit upright on your shins. So perhaps just watch the next little action. It's a preparation for a headstand. Doesn't mean we're going to come into a headstand, but what we're doing is activating these muscles around the shoulder blades, creating a strong framework with our arms so that we could lift the head off the floor. And in a headstand, the weight wouldn't be going all the way down to the more fragile vertebra of the neck, the cervical vertebra there. So I'll just show you, we're going to come onto our hands and knees, bring the forearms down, interlace the fingers, open up the palms of the hands, and then tuck the chin in. So more or less the crown of the head comes to the floor. It's not quite there, it's between the hairline and the crown of the head. So the head is down. Then press down through the forearms, lift out to the shoulders, tuck my toes, and come into a downward facing dog shape. Still the crown of my head is on the floor. And as I press into the forearms and exhale, I take my hips back. My head comes off the floor. Inhale, I release it back down gently. So I'm creating that strong framework to support my head and neck, to be able to control the amount of weight that moves down through my neck vertebra and into my head in a headstand. And even if you never want to practice your headstand, this is just an amazing action to strengthen the shoulder girdle, exhaling and inhaling. So let's have a go. Come down onto your knees. Create this framework. Forearms interlacing the hands. Tuck your chin, bring the crown of the head to the floor, and lift yourself up. As you exhale, press into the forearms, head comes off. Inhale, crown of the head comes down. Couple more times. Exhaling, inhaling. Maybe 3 more times. Exhale. If you feel you can. Inhale. You may only float off a couple of centimeters. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Lower your knees to the floor. Flatten the feet. Sit back down. Turn the forearms and the palms towards the ceiling. Lovely. Turning the palms down, start to curl your way up again to sit on the heels. Bring your knees together, so back into thunderbolt pose. And let's shift our hips over to the right. So your left sit bone is going to be off the floor here. Twist, bringing the back of the left hand over the thigh. The right thumb behind you. And just be a little bit fluid in this twist. You could lean back a little bit. Balancing the front and the back of the body. So the breastbone angles down, lengthens down, and the tailbone lengthens down. You actually have a little bit of cartilage at the base of your breastbone, a little triangular shape called the xiphoid process. And it almost creates a little tail internally, as does your coccyx. So if you engage these 2 little tails here, you're balancing the front and the back of the body. Great. Let yourself float out of this. Shift the hips over the heels. Bring your hips over to the other side. Twist and take the back of the right hand over your thigh. You might even tuck the fingers underneath, left thumb behind you. Breathing here. The xiphoid process, just at the base of the breastbone, slightly curls under. Coccyx slightly curls under. So 2 little tails here to balance the front and the back body. And then come back around towards the front. And let's just stretch the legs out in front of us here. Good. So just coming to sit in Dandasana, moving the hands along the length of your hamstrings so that you're right towards the fronts of the sit bones. And if that's difficult, if you're hanging back here, you can bend the knees and just bring the heels to the floor. You do something called neural flossing. So as you inhale, lift your gaze, lift your toes. As you exhale, point your feet, lower your chin. Inhale, lift the toes slightly, look up. Exhale, point the feet, lower the chin. Inhaling. Exhaling. Maybe bring the knees to the floor. Just one time with the legs straight if you had to bend the knees. Bend the knees. Inhale. Exhale. Wonderful. Lift the head to neutral. Flex the feet. Take the hands to the floor. Just lift your sit bones. Take them towards the heels. Catch the flesh of the buttocks. And come and lie yourself all the way down onto the earth. Hug your knees towards you. Hands over each knee. And take a little rock across the sacrum from side to side, turning your head to the opposite side of the knees. Come to the center, interlace the hands over the right knee, stretch your left leg along the earth. Feel the natural S shape of your spine. Maybe the shoulder blades draw down, chin slightly towards the throat. And as you press away to the inner seam of your left leg, gently hug your right thigh towards you. Take a simple one-legged twist, right arm by the ear, left hand to the outside of the knee. Knee comes across your body just to the level that you wish. You may wish to keep the right shoulder blade down and keep the right knee hanging, or let the foot come to the floor and the right shoulder blade come off. Get a little balance between the upper and lower part of the body. Coming back, hug the knee in. And change, left knee towards you, right leg stretches along the earth. Lengthening forward to the inner seam of your right leg. Gently hugging the left thigh towards you. Left arm up by your ear, right hand to the outside of the thigh. As you draw your knee across, bring the cheek towards the inner upper arm. It's up to you how far you want to take that leg across. Coming back, hugging the knee towards you and stretching your legs forward into Shavasana. If your lower back doesn't like to be flat on the floor, then bend the knees and just place the feet down. And snuggle your body down into the earth, lengthening your limbs away from their sockets. This is your moment to let go. Letting go of the body in its entirety. Letting go of any direction over the breath. Letting go even of any intention to be present. Giving yourself these last few minutes to completely let go, to rest into the safety and comfort of the earth, resting in your own splendor. We'll be here for 2 minutes together in silence. I'll mind the time and bring you out. Gently guide your mind back into the physical body. And just notice how still you have become, how quiet the breath has become. Have an awareness of the weight and contact of your body on the earth. And just start to mentally orientate yourself back into the room, keeping the eyes closed. And without disturbing this sense of peace and spaciousness, if that is your experience, just gently begin to elongate the inhalation, just enough to mobilize energy to inspire you to come back into your day. And with your eyes closed, gently make your way over to the right side. And just pause there for a moment. Take your left hand onto the floor by your face, and still with the eyes closed, turn your face towards the earth, so release the neck. Use the left hand to press your way back, spiraling back into any comfortable seat. Bring your hands to your heart in prayer. And just lastly, as we close our practice, be aware once again of the brainstem and the coccyx. Lengthening between those 2 points, and awareness of the dialogue in between. Bow your head towards the tips of your fingers, and as you gaze down towards the heart, take a moment to thank yourself for making time to practice today. And the patience, courage, tenacity, the strength and flexibility that we cultivate on our mat, we can take out into our day. A strong and flexible body creates a strong and flexible mind. A stable, consistent breath, a consistent temper. And if we take these out into the world, others will benefit. We meet people with these beautiful attributes. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. Hopefully see some of you next week.